Welcome to We Learn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 14, Nature of Indian Federalism. Topics which we are going to cover in this session are nature of a federation, federalism in India, the union-state relations, and the union territories. The very first topic is nature of a federation. A federation is basically formed on the basis of principle of a contract. It means that the sovereign unit, union states or local units form a federation on the basis of mutual and voluntary agreement. It also means that the extent of union is limited. A federal state is a political contrivance intended to reconcile national unity and power with the maintenance of states' right. Next is federalism in India. Federalism in India has some similarities with that of USA. The Constitution of India, like the Constitution of USA, which is the oldest federation, nowhere uses the term federation or the federal union. A person in USA has dual citizenship, one of the states where he resides and other the citizenship of his or her country, USA. There is no dual citizenship in India. An Indian citizen has only one citizenship, that is India. The Article 1 of the Constitution of India describes India as a union of states for Indian federalism. The word union has been used because to Ambedkar, the Federation of India was not a result of an agreement between different states to join a federation. The federal characteristic was given by farmers of the Constitution primarily for the two reasons. The federal state is more effective than a unitary one when the size of its territory is as large as India. And the second is the federal state is more effective than a unitary one when diverse group of its population live in a discrete territorial concentration as in India. Next is the structure of Indian Federation. The Constitution divides power between the Union and the states. The Supreme Court of India has original jurisdiction to decide dispute between the Union and a state or a group of states, one state and another state or a group of other states, one group of states and other group of states. Next are the territories of the state. The states of the USA cannot be split, merged or altered in size, but they may not leave the Union. According to the Article 3 of the Constitution of India, Parliament has power to separate territories from states and union territories, to create new states or new union territories, to merge two or more states or union territories, split a state or a union territory into two or more than two states and union territories, and to unite parts of states and union territories to create new states or union territories. Structure of government. The Union and states have separate government, both based on parliamentary systems. Both the President and the governors are advised by the councils of ministers. The union and the state officials minister both the union and the state level simultaneously. There are state civil services. Next are the divisions of power. The Indian Constitution lays down an elaborate division of legislative power between the Union and the state government in the 7th schedule. The power of the Union and state government are established in three lists known as the Union list, the state list, and the concurrent list. Next are in list 1, the Union list, the power of the government was mentioned. It contains 97 subjects. In list 2, the state list, that is 61 subjects are mentioned on which state legislature will enact law. In list 3, the concurrent list are mentioned powers that are to be concurrently exercised by the union and the state governments, and 47 subjects are mentioned in this list. Three conditions attached to the divisions. These are: number 1, if on a concurrent list subject the union and a state's law conflict, the union law will prevail. Number 2, if the Council of States or Rajya Sabha by a majority of 2/3 of its members decide by a resolution that a certain subject belonging to the state list is of national importance, the Parliament will be able to legislate on it. And number 3 is when a proclamation of emergency is in operation, the Parliament may legislate on any of the state subject. Next are the union-state relations. A federal state has often been described as a union without unity, meaning that there is a division of power along the cooperation between the partners. In the first place, there is a directive of the Constitution, and that of the state should be legislate on subjects belonging to their jurisdiction, and the union can legislate on subjects belonging to its jurisdictions. The governor, on the other hand, have been given the power to withhold assent to a bill and reserve it for the president's assent. The Parliament may delegate power to legislate on any union subject to a state legislature. The states have been directed to exercise their executive powers in compliance with the law of the Parliament and any existing law in operation on the states. The union has the power to issue directives to the state to exercise their executive powers without prejudicing the executive power of the union, and the union can issue directions to ensure this restriction. The union has power to protect the states from external aggression and internal disturbance. The failure of the state to give effect to any of the directives may lead to a declaration of constitutional breakdown in the state. The financial powers of the union and the states. Like the legislative and the executive powers, the financial powers are divided between the union and the states in such a detailed and complicated way that most commentators on Indian federal system have chosen to use the phrase financial relation rather than division of financial powers. Politically speaking, the revenue of the union are far greater than the revenue of states, making the state dependent on federal subsidies. There are three kinds of taxes in the constitution. Number 1, taxes and duties collected and appropriated by the states. Taxes and duties collected by the union on behalf of the states and assigned to them. Taxes and duties collected by the union and distributed among the states according to the principle laid down by the Parliament. The net proceeds of taxes and duties that the union levies after being distributed among the states as above all loans received by the union and all its recipients in repayment of loans from the consolidated funds of India. Taxes on sale and purchase of goods rather than newspapers and taxes on consignment of goods, where such sale or purchase or consignment takes place in course of interstate trade and commerce, shall be levied and collected by the union but assigned to the state according to the principle of distribution formulated by the Parliament Act 269. Next is the Financial Commission. Every 5 years, the President appoints a Finance Commission. The Parliament by law determines the qualification required for the appointment to the Commission. Article 280. The Commission recommends to the President the distribution of the net proceeds of taxes between the Union aid, the state, and the allocation of shares of such state proceeds along the state. The principles which should govern the grant and aid of the state revenue from the Consolidated Fund of India. The measures needed to augment the consolidated fund of the state to supplement the resources of the panchayat in the states. The Planning Commission and National Development Council. The Planning Commission plays an important role in formulation of India's economic policy. The Prime Minister is the chairman of Planning Commission. Some of the most important members of the Planning Commission are Union Council of Ministers, Cabinet, Secretary, and other distinguished persons. If an extra constitutional agency and works are an advisory body, it is responsible for 5-year plans of the country. The last topic is the Union Territories. The Union Territories are small and special areas directly under the administrative control of the Union Government. The President appoints an administrator for a Union Territory, sometimes designated as Lieutenant Governor. The President may also appoint the Governor of an adjacent state as the administrator of the Union Territory. Now, in the last, these are the questions which are based on the session. Questions are: number 1, explain the Finance Commission, and number 2, explain structure of government. That's all for the session. Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.